The time has come, and so have I. Doom the Dark Ages is finally here, and it's a game I've been waiting patiently for, as I love the Doom series, even with its quirks, and Eternal is in my top 20 games of all time. So yeah, I was very excited for this game. I took out a loan to get early access, and I just got done beating it, and honestly, I didn't really like it. Now, before the Doomheads start ripping tearing me a new one for this take, let me just say this. I think there is a great game here. It is just hidden under some very questionable changes and choices made throughout the game. Now, I know Doom Eternal and Doom the Dark Ages are very different games. I came into this game expecting that. Pretty much every single Doom game is different. But I think that with the changes that they made in this game, they aren't necessarily bad because they are different, but rather they are genuine downgrades from both 2016 and Eternal. Doom the Dark Ages changed the gameplay loop of Doom by adding new open areas in addition to the classic linear levels you would find in other Doom games. And this was honestly one of the big things that I was really worried about going in. I didn't know how they would manage to make this work, but I can say they do make it work. It's actually very well made, although I do still prefer the linear levels, which there are more than enough in this game. They also added new gameplay additions like the ability to pilot the Atlan mech or even ride around in a dragon. And also the main addition that they added to the game was a new shield which heavily features the parry mechanic, which as a parry poppy that loves me some parries, I was fully in on this, and god damn do these parries feel good. The sound design team knocked it out of the park with this thing. Whenever you hit a parry, you just get the most satisfying bonk noise, and whenever you like throw it in the enemy, it's just like ripping them apart. Oh, it just sounds so cool. I personally love this shield. I think it's the best new addition in Doom, and I think it needs to be a mainstay going forward in the franchise. But unfortunately, as you keep playing the game, you start to see the cracks. The problem is the parries happen way too frequently, and they are way too easy to hit. I play every Doom game on Nightmare, not because I'm some genetic freak or God's favorite gamer, but because I love the challenge, and the Dark Ages on Nightmare is by far and away, and it's not even close, the easiest Doom game imaginable. The game feels like you're playing Doom Pickleball at times because later on you're just parrying green projectiles left and right from like 50 dudes in the room, which started to get old pretty fast. It always felt nice to parry them, but it happened way too often that it started to backfire on itself and became unsatisfying as the game went on. Since the game was just far too easy for my elite gamer brain, I decided to turn down the parry window and make the game a little bit harder. The only problem was this setting doesn't do anything. The parries are still far too easy to hit, and they happen far too often. You can even have attacks that go behind you that you can somehow parry. You can have attacks where like you pull the shield up way too early and you're like, oh whoops, I'm early, I'm gonna get fucked here, and then it's like, no, you just spam right click again and it's like, oh, you hit the parry. And it never feels good when that happens because it's so obvious when it happens. Like if I fuck up a parry and it's like an obvious fuck up, I want to be punished for it. I want to die from that attack. I want you to beat my ass up. But that never happens in this game. Half the attack, or like 99% of the attacks in this game are so simple to parry. There's like one enemy in the game that's kind of annoying later on who's like a non-stop onslaught of attacks. But the problem is you kill him in 2 seconds. So it's like, as long as you hit one parry, you're gonna hit the rest. And I don't know, they need to do something different. Now, I do think the idea of parrying, especially in an FPS game, is awesome. Like I love parries, but the problem is there's no depth to the parries. It is just see green, press right click, see green, press right click, see green, press right click. That's it. There's nothing else to it. Looking at games that I love like Lies of P, Stellar Blade, Sekiro, they all heavily focus on parrying, yet each of these games have multiple types of parries that I think Dark Ages really could have used to keep the game fresh. Maybe have green attacks for regular parries, but say a blue attack for a parry that you have to use the shield throw on. Or have like a full body flash like the Marauders from Eternal, and where you have to like shoot them to parry them. Like something like that would have kept the game so much more fun throughout because the parries just got boring. You never got any of those moments in the games that I mentioned where an enemy uses a new move, like a red move or something, where you have to use a certain type of parry on, where you like lock in for 1 second, you're like, I'm gonna hit this shit, and then if you mess it up, you're like, oh fuck, or if you hit it, it's like the greatest feeling of all time. You never get that in Doom. Instead, it's just like, oh, I see green, I press right click. Oh, I see green, I press right click. It's just brain dead. It becomes brain dead. Like I mentioned earlier, this game actually goes for more of an open approach to its areas, which is one of the things that I was a little worried about because I think Doom shines when it's like linear levels. But I will say I was surprised by this. It was much better than I expected it to be, even though I did kind of ignore it by the end once I got the weapons and gear that I wanted, but it was not bad. Now, one thing that I actually do think I prefer over Doom Eternal is the way you upgrade in this game. So in Doom Eternal, the way you upgrade is by finding like these weapon parts or runes that you just like walk up, you punch, and then you pick whatever you upgrade you want. It's pretty simple. It's fine. It works. But I actually like it how it's done in the Dark Ages more. So in the Dark Ages, you can find mini bosses scattered throughout, which are like, they're kind of like this normal type of enemy, just a little bit tankier. Maybe they have like one new attack. That's about it. But it forces you to engage in combat to upgrade. So when you kill them, you rip their heart out, you crush it. It's very Doom-esque. And you get like more armor, more health, more ammo, whatnot. And then the other way to upgrade is by just running around the world collecting gold, and then there's random shops scattered around where you can buy weapon upgrades, shield upgrades, and melee upgrades. And I actually much prefer this over Eternal because in Eternal there were parts where it's like, ooh, I really need this upgrade. Now I gotta like navigate around the map to figure out where this rune is. But in Dark Ages, it's like, oh, gold here, I'll pick that up, I'll kill this guy, I'll get gold here. Oh, there's a shop. Okay, I got my upgrade. All right, we move on. It's really nice. It's really simple. I actually liked it. It forces you to do more combat and get more upgrades, so it works for Doom. There is nothing cooler than a big ass mech stomping around, blowing shit up, beating shit up, especially one inspired by Pacific Rim. Now, if you hear that and go, ew, Pacific Rim, what's wrong with you? And if you don't like mechs in general, there's something seriously wrong with you. You need help. Now, Doom gives you a new mech to do all that shit that I mentioned, but the only problem is it doesn't feel that good. Now, when you first get it, it's super hype. The cutscene that plays is fucking sick, but you quickly realize there is zero depth to this combat. You just press left click until a circle fills up, then you press right click. You also have guns that are really boring to use. It's just not fun. I think the biggest issue that I have with the mech is that there are like 5 missions where you play as it, and none of them are fun except for the very last one. And I think they really should have done the Nier Automata approach where less is more, where they just give you the final one, which is a cool boss fight. But by the time I got there, I was already bored of the mech, so the boss fight just didn't really hit that hard. Overall, I don't think the mechs are necessarily bad. I just think they're kind of boring because I kept forcing it down your throat all throughout, and they really should have just saved it for the final, like one of the final bosses in the game. They've been hyping up this mech for like 3 games now, and they've been hyping it up throughout this whole game. Obviously, you ride in it multiple times, but I think it would have hit so much harder if you fight a big guy and they just drop a mech and they're like, Slayer, get in the mech, and you're just like, okay, this is peak. But instead, by the time you get there, you're like, oh, I gotta fight him in the mech. Okay, whatever. Now, they might have took a misstep with the mechs. I'll give them a pass for that. But surely they don't fuck up the dragons. Right? Bro, this shit's bad, man. I don't know what id was thinking. This is like truly one of those moments where I'm like, why is this even in the game? Like the mechs, I thought were kind of boring, but it was mainly because like there were a lot of sections where I was like, by the end, I was just kind of done with it. But like this, it's like they can't even do what I mentioned with the mech, where it's like save it for a big moment, because that would have just been dog shit as well. This is just embarrassing. Fucking, not to bring up Yoko Taro again, but he did this shit 20 years ago with Drakengard, and that game fucking sucks, and it still has way better dragon gameplay than this. There are moments where you're flying around in the dragon and it like drops you off. It's like, when you land, it's like, finally, I can have fun again. But then you break a wall and it cuts this cutscene of you free falling, and it's the same cutscene every time, and it is just so sad. Why do that? Oh no. Oh god. No. Your heart rate's like spiking from all the high octane action, and then you just fall into a coma when you fall back on the dragon. It fucking sucks. I don't know why this is in the game. It should have been completely cut. There is no need for this to be in the game. It doesn't feel like Doom. It sucks. All right, I'm going a little ballistic about this game, but next we get to the story, which the story I didn't like, but it's far from being bad. It's just the problem I have with it is it's just nowhere as cool as 2016 or Eternal. When they announced this would be more of like a big blockbuster movie, I got hyped because that just means Doom Guy doing more crazy cool shit, which everyone loves. But instead, we get a boring story featuring a super forgettable villain. I don't even like Prince Asscrack or something like that, and 4 other characters that aren't Doom Guy. You have King Novik, the ghost dude from Eternal. He's a dude now. You have his daughter Jane Doom. You got John Gears of War, and you can't forget Eric Unreal Tournament 3. And they are all nothing burger characters. Meanwhile, Doom Guy is just kind of like stands around. He's just kind of there. There was just something off about this entire campaign. It was almost like if you made a mainline Halo game that just didn't focus on Master Chief. Oh wait. Now, later on in the story, Doom Guy does get some cool moments, like when he drives a boat. There's definitely a few other times where he pops off, but like I just got done playing Eternal right before Dark Ages came out. And dude, there's a scene where Doom Guy like fucking launches himself out of a BFG cannon into some facility. Like you never get shit like that in the Dark Ages. And I feel like it's just a huge missed opportunity. Now, I don't play Doom for the story, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't think anybody does. But not having Doom Guy doing cool shit in every single cutscene and almost taking a backseat in his own game just felt off to me. Overall, it wasn't bad, but it just doesn't live up to the standards that 2016 or Eternal's campaign set. Now, I know I'm like talking a lot of shit about the game, but I do think Dark Ages has moments where it's glorious, especially mainly when you actually play as Doom Guy. But overall, it just feels like it overcorrecting on things that people might not have liked in Eternal and try to do something too different that just doesn't have nearly the amount of depth that the previous 2 games had, especially when you compare it to Eternal's gameplay. Coming fresh off Eternal from a replay, it just seems weird looking back on why they removed this stuff. Why are glory kills gone? You could have kept it the same way where you maybe tap E to do the quick kill or maybe hold E to do a glory kill. So if there's an enemy that's really pissing you off, you can just rip and tear it apart. Why remove so many movement options from the game? I get that the game's not trying to be Eternal, but why not give Eternal fans the option to get a dash upgrade? Why not get the upgrade for, I don't know, say the Impaler, where I can shoot it into a wall and it creates like a monkey bar that I can swing on? Why not get the meat hook for the shotgun? Why did we remove that? That was so fucking sick, dude. Are we crazy? The final thing that just boggles my mind on why it was removed is where are the weapon interactions between the enemies? The Caco demons. You cannot shoot a grenade into them so that where they like swallow it and blow up from within. You can't do that anymore. You cannot break the Revenant rocket pods using your aim. You cannot break the Arachnid weapon pods using good aim. You cannot break the Mancubus weapons using good aim. You technically can, but when they do break, they just die. So it's like, it's not the same thing. This is the biggest thing that doesn't make any sense to me, especially coming from a Doom game. All that stuff that I mentioned in Eternal, it doesn't force you to use those weapons, but rather it incentivizes you to go out and use different weapons. This game doesn't really do that, and I would argue this game wants you to just find one weapon that you like and use that for the entirety of the game, because 1, weapon swapping in this game takes 13 business days to complete. 2, there's infinite ammo with the new melee mechanic. Like you never run out of ammo. There was not a single time in this entire game on Nightmare that I ran out of ammo. And 3, the gun that I used for the most part of this video and most part on my stream was the super shotgun, because it is by far and away the best gun in the game. There's no point in using any other gun. And bringing it back to the Eternal thing, there's no point in me to use the Impaler because there's no weapon interaction with it. There's no point in using the plasma gun because there's no interaction with it. There's no interaction with the ball and chain. There's no interaction with the skull gun. It's just like, why would I swap when I have the best gun in the game with infinite ammo? And I'm not gonna lie, it's the most fun weapon in the game. Despite my issues with the game, I still think there's gonna be a lot of people that end up falling in love with this game, because at the end of the day, it is still 1000% a Doom game. When you're playing as Doom Guy, it's a ton of fun. The problem is there are a lot of times where you don't play as him and it's just not fun. The flow of the combat is great. I just wish there was more depth to it, just like in 2016 or even Eternal. Unfortunately, Doom the Dark Ages just doesn't hit at all for me. I really like the parts where he plays Doom Guy, although I do wish it had more depth to it, but everything else, not a fan of it at all. Overall, Doom the Dark Ages is like the Dark Souls 2 of the Doom franchise.